Please wait for 2 or 3 minutes, then we can start when all are connecting. So anyone have any question, you can message here. So I will try to answer. So in the last class, what we can do here, we can implement the onion architecture. This is just for like to write code in a cleaner way and in maintainer way. When we are working in a big project and long term project, that time we can follow like that way. If you are a small project and not multiple interfaces and multiple classes, that time you can use a simple CRUD operation. Don't need to do right like that way. It's a waste on your requirement. When you have a that project have a multiple controllers, so you can try to make like that way, so everything will be a cleaner way and we can make a one uniform way. Like you can every time when we can make a new model, so firstly but you will be do here. So here you can add your entity table, domain model. So same structure, like it's based on your requirement how you can make the structure. It's not a fix. You can every time you can make a same structure, you make a data access layer. It's based your requirement how you can develop your application how you want. So this is I will make for the first time. Like it's a structure I will explain, and the next time every developer or every work like who will work on this project who will follow the same pattern. So like that way in companies they are when you are join any company and you have already like that project developed, so we need to follow same pattern that they are implemented. Not we don't, because it's only for the first time like from the scratch or a first time when we can develop that application. So in this related anyone have any question? Okay. So today what will we do? Firstly, we will make already make the interface. So here we can make the interface here. Sorry, services here. Interface we already make. So yeah, I will add the class by project service. Here we need to insert this interface and we need to add the namespaces. Okay. So this is why we need to add the project reference, because this is in another application. So why it will not get we already added here reference. Okay, we need to add the reference here. So this is inside the DTO. So this page reference we need to add here. So now it's working because this is why we need to add the reference because this is in another library. So another library or another project and we are calling here. So it will not able to find if you are not added the namespace or sorry, if you are not added the I can't see. Hello everyone, are you able to see the screen? Please message here if you get the same. Okay, okay, thanks for confirming. Okay, okay, so this inter why we Rashmi, you have a question like why we use the interface and GTO because before that project we make that all in a same project here. This only the same project, but for now it's in another class library. For example, I will explain you. Now you have a different project, so how it will be understand like where you can model it only understand that are make here, so it will take that namespace. But if you can make any project outside or class library outside, so we need to add the reference of that project. For example, here we don't need any model and anything because here just we can make a request and response data. Here we don't call any method, any model. So here we can't give any reference. But if you can see here in the onion architecture, here we need to here in the program.cs file we need to application db context. So this file, where is this file? There is a in a db context. This file here in the another class library. Here if you can go here we can make application db context, that is another class library. So how it will be find because it is another project, so we need to add the project reference. So how you can add the reference, you can just click right click and add. Here is the option to project reference and you can see we already added. So we only check that we want. So now for now to use the application db context we because our application db context here in the CRUD operation dot data says, so I can check this and then click OK. So if you can double click here, this is the project reference will be added here. So this project reference will be added here. It's based on the requirement you can add the project reference. And here for example here but why it will be used here we need a DTO. Let me first fix this. Okay. Okay. So you can see here in the interface, if I go back, close all the, if I go here, mm, here, okay, we can make a separate here for the interface and services. So here, what we need, we only need a DTOs because DTO, if, here we can give the return type DTOs and we don't show any other domain model. So here we know need this class library, CRUD operation with onion dot DTO because our these project request DTO and response DTO is added here. So same thing we can add the reference of only this project not another. So this is you can add the reference based on the requirement. So if I click here, so you can see here I will add the reference only CRUD operation with onion dot DTO and I can click OK. And if you can click here, so here is the project reference I will give and same package we can add it based on our requirement. So that we have to used that we only add here. So is it clear, Rashmi? Anyone have? Okay, I think it's okay. Okay, so based on the requirement, we can add the packages that we need, and based on the requirement, we can add a project reference. This is the package reference, this is the project reference. We don't need to, for example, if you can add all these reference, so we don't need to add. You can add, then it will not give any error. But we can add only based on our requirement. That like that class or that class library we have a requirement, we can add only. For example, we don't need here add a data sets layer or this, so we don't add it here. So here we can make the interface, and here same thing, we can use a return type DTO. We are not exposing directly our domain model. So this is the main function or main feature of DTO. We don't expose our DTO in the Swagger UI or in a interface and service in our business layer. So this is our business layer where we can write all the business related work, like adding new data in the database, update. Logic layer, it will contain all the implementation of method define that we can give the definition in project interface. So what is our first step? We can inject here our here we can inject the repository layer to interact with the data access layer. So private read only, not a repository here. So this is the another layer if you want add. For now we are only adding our application DB context. So you can see here, now we have a requirement application DB context. And where is our application DB context? Our application DB context here in the CRUD operation with onion architecture dot data sets layer. So now we need to add the requirement to adding this class library. So same thing we can do here. Right click on it and click on add and project reference, which we want to need. We need this one, second one. So I will check this and click on the OK. And now you are able to use this namespace. So you can see here we can add based on the requirement. We need this DB context file because here with the help of DB context file we are interact with the database. We can perform the CRUD operation on the database. We can create, update things. These all things we can do here. And today we will do some advanced things that we are not doing in the last class. So firstly I will explain you here. So here we are using INMDable. INMDable we are using when we are fetching unfiltered data, and for, only used we used when we want to fetch multiple record from the database, all the records from the database. And it but it will do it firstly fetches all the record, then it will be do a perform. Like if you want searching or pagination. So this is the not good in the enumerable. Firstly, it will fetch all the record, then you can filter or any filter. For example, if you want only 10 record, so in your this project table have 100 record. So firstly, it will fetch all the records, then it will filter the data. So that time we want a filter data. That time we are not using enumerable. Enumerable. That time we can use the iQueryable. For now, we want the all the records, get all records. So that's why we are using enumerable. So this is also we are added based on our requirement, not a fix to use same like that. Okay. So for now, we want all the records. So simply I will write variable. Okay. Here we can use also. Okay, in the last class we can do a manual mapping, but for now we are not doing any manual mapping. So we can use here mapper. With the mapper, automatically it will be perform these things that we can write here. I think, okay, I think some changes are missing. Yeah. So we need to install this package. This package is uninstalled for, okay. I think last class changes are not saved properly. So here we but it will we do, we need to add the package. Okay. Mm. So here there is a not dependency Automapper package. So you need to go here and go to manage, and here you need to search Automapper. This one we need to add, and where we need to this package install I need here, because our mapping profile will be here. And also same mapper for now I can add it only here. I can use this one and click on install. So one by one we can fix these errors. Okay, so this is giving the error because we are not installed the mapper. And let's check how we can check the error list. Like that way you can see all the error. So okay, here we can change the file name because it's giving the error. Okay, so no error will be left here. This is unexpected. Okay, so firstly I will, let's see. Firstly I will rebuild and fix all the bugs here. Let me, I think some uh, changes are not reflecting here that we can do tomorrow. Okay, now all are good. Okay, so why it's giving error, because here this package is not installed. Now I can install this package, and also here we can change this folder name, because here it will be giving error, because this is also db context file, and this folder name we also set db context. For now we are change this folder name, so that's why we need to fix everywhere. Okay, so all that's fixed. uh, Close all tab. Okay, so we are doing here. Okay, so firstly we need to here, we are not doing a manual mapping, so here we need to inject privately our mapper. And this is get by Automapper, and comma you can add inside the constructor mapper. So now we are not doing any manual mapping. In the last project, I think we can do a manual mapping. I will show you the difference what we can do here. Okay, I will try. I already uploaded 2 or 3 video today related to top full stack .NET interview question. I will try to complete today, like all the top 100 questions. Okay, so here now we are added a mapper, and firstly how we can get the, so firstly you have a question why we use a mapper. With the help of mapper we don't use to do a manual mapping. Mapper we can map the DTO to the entity and vice versa, entity to DTO, DTO to entity. We don't need to write the mapping and code manually, because we are here we can use a auto this Automapper library. For example, I will show you in the last project what we can do here. This one in the CRUD operation with DTO. Here we don't use any mapper, and we can do a manual mapping. Let's show here. If you can go here in the service, you can see here we don't use any mapping. We can do, this is the manual mapping. You can write all the code by yourself. If I can see here get all method, you can write like that way. But for now it will be a not a cleaner approach, and it's a manual mapping. It's a different way to write the code. But for now we are not need to do a mapping, manual mapping. So we can handle all the things with the help of mapper. So let's try this one. Okay, this one our project. So here what will we do, our code is a little bit cleaner way we can write, you can say, because if you do a manual mapping it will also code not looking good, and it is too lengthy to sometime you will give any error, something, some mistakes in a manual mapping. But anti framework it will handle all the things by yourself, you don't need to worry about this. So we will firstly variable projects is equal. So here we are using async and await. So you need to write here, because here we are using asynchronous programming. So when we are using asynchronous programming, we need to write here async, and when we are getting list from the database, that time we can write here await. So I already cleared here why we use async and await. This is provided by using Microsoft anti framework core. To list async means it will not block the thread. For example, if we can use here, this is the most important question in .NET interview. Multiple time it will be asked in the interview. So you can see here directly we can use the mapper, and I will firstly explain you asynchronous programming. I already explained with you. I just revise asynchronous used to perform the async and await is used to perform the asynchronous programming in the C# in operation. It does not block the thread. In simple language, it does not block the main thread while waiting for the operation to complete or while waiting from the response. Okay, so it will be release the that thread to continue another work. When you can get a response, you can get the response. It will return the response any available thread. Right, it's not a fixed, you can use a same thread, so it will be for example, you can use a thread one for getting the data in the await. That time it will be goes to a thread pool and works for the another task, and when you can get response any available thread will be a give to that. So this is the asynchronous programming, and you can see here we can use a to list async and here you can use this mapper. So before that, if you can see another project here, let me show you here. Here you can do all the things manual mapping. Manually you can write all the things here. But for now, with the help of this select keyword, for now it will be handled by EF core or Automapper. You can see here this is the source, this is the destination. What it will be do here, source is the projects that we can get list from the database, and your destination will be your response model. This is returned to the client. So how database will goes, data goes to model to product to product response.io. So like that way you can fetch all the records from your database here to list and return to this response. So like that way your source, this is your source. If you can hover here, so it will give you option I enumerable object source. So inside the rounded bracket, what is your, this is your source and your destination will be a project response detail. So is it clear to everyone? I have any question or have any doubt? You can message here. I will check your message. Anyone have any question? Please message here. Okay, okay, then. Okay, we can continue. If you have not have any question. So next thing is here as not tracking. So this question I already covered today and uploaded video in, but I just recall you, revise you again. Why we use as no tracking? This is sometime it will be asked in a .NET interview question if you're experienced or fresher, because multiple time it will be used. So as no tracking, for example, when we are adding, updating or getting any data, so EF core, anti-framework core, it automatically track all the changes, like what you add, what you delete, what you update. So all the things will be a track. So it will impact the performance of our system. It will take some time. So when we are getting that data, so that time we can write as no tracking. Why we write here as no tracking? It will helps to improve the performance of system because we are not doing anything. any CRUD operation and any changes we are, so that time we can use as no tracking. For example, if as no without as no tracking it will take 60 seconds, but before that you are it will take like 20 seconds, so it will helps to improve the performance. If you are not added this, then also it will be work, it also work. But when you have a multiple data here, so rather than tracking the changes, we can simply write here as not tracking. So this is only used when we are getting data from the database. You can see here as no tracking is the method in the anti-framework code that is used to improve the performance of read-only query. Read-only queries that, for example, get by ID, where you also use this uh, as no tracking and get all method. You're just getting the records. So that is a read-only query. You are not performing any operations like adding or updating or deleting. That time you can add here as no tracking. And the next one is as split query. Why we use a as split query? This one. This is also important question. As split query is, for example, we are using a eagle loading. Eagle loading means you are fetching all the data in a one query. For example, if you are adding data from the another table, so that time it will be a for example you are getting with the help of include keyword to a, you are getting data from 5 or 6 table in a one query with the help of eagle loading. But that time your query will be a little bit bigger and multiple joins. To reduce that joins we can use a as split query. So it will, when your this query will go to a database or SQL server, it will divide into a small parts and small queries. As split query is the method or is used to split a query into a multiple queries to improve performance when loading the latent data. So this we will cover. I already shared this video in the YouTube. You can see from here. Here I just explain you. For now we don't use this. I just added here for other understanding. You have to knowledge about this. Okay. Next we can make here add method. So variable. So now what it will be do, we are getting data from our project request DTO and pass to our domain model. So here we are again we are using mapping. Now your this is your source and destination. So now we are getting data from the request DTO and pass to our domain model, that is a project, and then add changes async and save changes sync. Now we are getting this is a domain model that we are created new, and again in the request video we can get from here and pass to this. So here what it will do, data goes to project request DTO to project model, domain model, then it goes to the database, and here what it will do, here data goes to a project domain model, then it will be goes to a project response DTO and it goes to a client. So like that way it will be work. I think this is a simple way I will explain you here. Anyone can easily understand if anyone have a fresher or experience. Okay. So you can see here, if you can hover here, your rounded bracket, this is your source and destination will be project. And here, this is your destination that we can give a Swagger UI and to the client. This is for the, it goes to a database, it goes to a client. So anyone have any question? Okay. Okay. So next we will already created for the delete and sorry, create. Next we can make for delete. So here our return type will be a delete, and this is a delete the project by ID, and it's a return type bool. If that record will be deleted, that time we can return a true, otherwise we can return a false. So how we firstly we will find that record with the help of ID. If that project not find in the database, that time we can return null, otherwise we can remove and save changes sync and return true. So firstly we will find that record. So here we are using asynchronous programming. To using asynchronous programming, we need to write this, and here we can use await, and here we can use find async. So every time when we are using async, every method in the last it will be added async. But if you are not using await and this one, so that time you can need to write like that way. But if you write like that way, async, so you can see here, yeah, and I want to use await, so you need to, it will give the error because here it want to find async. Okay, so firstly we will find that record with the help of id. If project is equal null, that time we can, if that project not found in the database, that time we can return null, otherwise we can return a true. And next we can make a method get by id. Same thing here, we can find that record with the help of id. If we can find that record, then not find, then return null, otherwise we can return the automapper and pass this response. First we will find that with the help of id. Here we are using asynchronous programming. Here we can use await, and here we can use find async. And if we can, that project is equal to null, then we can return null, otherwise we can return here return mapper. This is your source project model and this is your destination, and here data goes to project mapping to a project response, and it will return to a DTO. Last thing is for the update. So same thing here, firstly we will find that record with the help of id. So here inside this we already have a id, this one, this data we can use here. So we can find that record with the help of id, and then we check if that record is equal to null, then return null, otherwise we can map, and then save changes in. Here we don't need to write a update because AF core track all the changes automatically. Which entity we are changes here, and it automatically it will check the subject, which we can check update anything that it will be updated automatically. Don't need to write here update and return this to our response data. So how it will be do here, if you can hover here, how it will be mapping. So this is your source and this is your destination. So here we can use a different way. Here mapper, this is your source that we can get from here, and this is your destination to map the source object to a destination object. So AF for that destination object we are changing it, AF for automatically track that changes and update in the database. So this map, like that way we already only use here in the update method. So this is your source and this is your destination, mapper.map. So is it clear? Anyone have any question? And next class will be our here controller. We can add here new controller. And here in the controller, we can implement our dependency injection with the help of constructor. We can inject interface inside the constructor rather than writing all the code here. So here, last principle, our solid principle, last D means dependency injection we can implement here. Dependency injection for the service layer. So rather than writing all the code here in the same controller, we can call from the outside. Writing all the code in the controller, we can inject service here and call that method. We can call from the outside layer or a service layer. For example, here we can inject our interface. So why we use a dependency injection? It will helps to achieve a loose coupling. Things are not dependent to each other, easy to test and easy to maintain. You can easily extend your code. So I will write here private. So okay. So here we need to add the reference of another project, this class library. If I can go here, so this is this interface in another class library, because here we are using an onion architecture or a cleaner approach we can do. So here we need to requirement this interface reference. So based on the requirement we can add the reference. For now we need this project interface and this method, so that is here in the service layer. If you can go here, and this we need. So we need to add the reference of this class library, CRUD operation with onion architecture dot service, and you need to right click here and click on the add. Here is a project reference, and here we need this one. So based on the requirement, this we already added, because for the application db context, this we added, we need to use this interface. So click on ok, and now you are able to see its namespace using CRUD operation dot service dot interface. And this also added here this reference. So two project class library we need here, and we can add the reference here. If I have a need for this DTO and data sets layer, so we also add these projects or this class library reference here. So we can add it mainly based on the requirement. It's not necessary to add all. So we can add it here based on our requirement. So our first method is the HTTP GET. We are using when we are fetching any data from the database, that time we can use HTTP GET, and its URL will be like that way. API, this is the API, your controller name project. So your URL will be like that way, API, then your controller name. This is your controller name, then get all, that we can write here. Same name will be here. So this is your URL when you can see in the Swagger UI. Public async. So here we are using action result, because this is the two thing. First one is the I action result, and second one is the action result. So this is the difference. This is the interface. Here you need to return anything like return okay, return not found. But when you are using action result, that time you can give a specific response. For example, here you don't need to write this, and you can return here model any. Let me check here, like that way. You want to return here project or any DTO, uh, like that way. So that time it will be works like that way. Any specific time type of return type that time you want, you need to write like that way. But if you simply you want, mainly we are using I action result. This is only used when you are a specific response type you want. But when you are using I action result, that time you can return anything. For example, let you check. Okay, same. Because here we are passing the list, it will be expecting a list, this method. For now, we can add this. I will like. So this is the important question. What is the difference between I action result or action result? So in action result, any return type will be show. In I action result, here any response can be written like this, like return like okay, that we already used, not found, bad request. It is a general type, it does not specify It is a journal type, not specify like I want this response type. But when you are using action result, that time inside the T you can pass like I want this specific response type. So this is the major difference between them. Is more specific type, it allow you can specify the type is being to be returned. So that time you can return I want this response. So that time we can use the action result when we need a specific response. But for now in a journal we can use this one, I action result. So this is the difference between both. Get by id, so same thing we can use here. So its url will be like that way. Okay, so his here we can same use I action result, get by id, and if that record get then okay, otherwise return not found, and otherwise we will return here. Okay, so is it clear everyone, and have any question? Okay, okay, next we will make for the add. We can use its url will be created like that way, and same thing we can use here. Okay, so for now we need task action result. Okay, so for now we need this DTO. So this is we already added namespace. Okay, let me check. Let's give the option. Okay, now let's give the option. So we are at, so we can added this namespace because if you can see here, we are need to pass this parameter here that we can declare. Here we need id, here we don't need anything, so we are not passing anything. So here add or update we need to pass this video, and in a delete we need to pass the id. Okay, so if you want to add here check, you can easily add check if this project request DTO is null, not get any data. So that time you can return a bad request. So it's your choice. You can add here exceptions or okay. Okay, so here we can do all the things with the help of mapper. And like main important new thing we can use in the last project we are using manual mapping, but for now we are using mapper. So you have a understanding why we use a mapper here, or what is the difference between manual mapping. In manual mapping sometimes you will give any error or anything you can missing, but with the help of mapper it will handle all the things by yourself, and you don't worry about this thing. You can see here everything will be work, and it's a much cleaner way or a much readable way. And for example, if you can see here code is a little bit too long, and it's not a proper readable. It's a readable but not a clean approach. So we will try to less code in a single file or single class so that we can follow here. So this is done for today class. Next class we will continue this. Okay. So thanks for watching this class. If you like this class, you can comment, like, share. So okay, bye bye. Thank you.